think about this as a podcaster. If you have a guest cancel, you could come right to podcast guests, find a person that would be great for your podcast, and then flip that coin around. You could be the one someone else is reaching out to in that very same scenario. My name is Kerry Green, and I am the Client Happiness Guy at podcastfasttrack.com, and this is Podcastification. This show is all about podcasting. How to do it, how not to do it, best practices, interesting news items that have to do with the realm of podcasting, and who knows what else. And I'm trying to do it all with a little bit of fun and some information to help you get a show going, keep yours going, or make it better. And if you like what's going on here on the show, I would appreciate it, oh so appreciate it, if you could leave a rating or review on iTunes. You can find out how to do that at podcastfasttrack.com/review. That's enough of that kind of stuff. Let's get you podcastificated right away. Well, it is always an exciting thing to hear about new things that are going on in the podcastosphere out there. And one of those things that has come across my plate recently actually comes from one of my clients. And if you've been listening to Podcastification for a while, you have actually heard him before on episode 39, which you can find at podcastfasttrack.com/39. But his name is Andrew Alleman. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you.
You sound wonderful.
Well, you know, it's a beautiful day in Austin, Texas, so it brings a little bit of a spring to my voice when it's a nice day. So
yeah, I'm with you. I'm in the middle of Colorado, and it's a little chilly, but it's warm as well. So I'm loving this day. Now, Andrew is on the show because Andrew is not only a client of mine who does a podcast and that sort of thing, but he also has a service called Podcast Guests, which we did talk about back on that episode 39 that I mentioned. But he's come out with a new kind of a aspect of the service, I guess you would say, that I'm actually pretty excited about. He allowed me to have some access and to create a profile for myself in there, but that's getting the cart before the horse. Andrew, tell us what is going on over at Podcast Guests.
Sure. So at a high level, Podcast Guests is a service that connects podcasters with guests that want to be on their show. And it's been going on for, I've been doing it almost 2 years now. And traditionally, it's been where if you want to be a guest on a program, you'd get these emails each week that list podcasts that are looking for guests. And if you're qualified for those, you fill out a form that gets submitted to the podcaster. And that's great, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from people. One is from podcasters that love being featured because some of them have gotten 30 or 40 guests from it, but they want to find guests today. And sometimes there's a bit of a queue. Right. And then I've also heard from experts that want to be on shows and they want to get booked on more shows faster. They don't want to just wait for these emails to respond to whenever there's a podcast that's in their niche. So what I've done is I've created an online system that allows guests, expert guests, to create their own profile and be listed in a directory. So any podcaster can look in that directory, they can sort by category and say, hey, this person make a great guest for my program. So then they click a link and fill out a quick form that gets sent to that guest.
Yeah, and it is a pretty spiffy looking thing, I must say. And by the way, all of this will be in the show notes for this episode, which you'll be able to find at podcastfasttrack.com/83. But it has got a directory component, like Andrew was saying, that shows a picture of the podcaster, shows a little blurb about who they are and what they can speak about. And then you can click on their profile picture or their name, and it'll pull up a full profile. I mean, just all the info that they've entered. It's really quite impressive. Like he said, with the little button that tells you click to book this guest for your podcast. Now, I'm assuming, Andrew, that there's a pay component behind this. Why don't you explain the pricing on this?
Yes. So I should mention that the baseline service that I mentioned at the top is free. Anyone can subscribe to the newsletter at podcastguest.com and submit your podcast as well as respond to the podcasts that are there. There is a paid component to this part. There are two options. It's a monthly fee. One is $9 for the basic option. and one is $29 for the premium option. And so what that gets you, in both cases, you get an online profile. And I think of this like a one-pager. So if you've had lots of guests on your podcast before, you're familiar with this concept of a one-pager, which basically says who the person is, why you should interview them, questions you might ask them, topics, previous media experiences, appearances, that sort of thing. So basically, at the $9 level, you're getting this one pager, this online one pager, which is mobile friendly, which is a key difference from most of these one pagers that are PDF documents. And you get into the directory. If you do the premium option for $29 a month, you get everything you get in the basic package, of course, but you get a slightly more enhanced profile. You can include more links to websites. You can be listed in 2 categories rather than 1. And the big thing is that on a rotating basis, you'll be featured in that newsletter I send out to 3,000 people every week. And so it'll have your photo, your headshot, as well as a quick description of who you are. And that way you're getting in front of even more people that might not be looking at the directory every day, but they get a quick synopsis of you when they're looking through the newsletter, and they say, hey, that person might be a good fit for my show. Let me go check out and find out more.
Now, can you say those subscriber numbers again?
Yeah, so there are now over 3,000 subscribers to the free service, to the weekly newsletter.
Oh, my goodness. So I didn't realize that was part of the premium service. That is really cool. So you not only are getting into this guest directory with all these other people that are in the same niche as you, who are high profile and have their expert status already established, you're right alongside those people, but you're also being sent out weekly in this email on a rotating basis. That is super cool.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see. This past week, I featured 5 and got good responses, 5 experts in the newsletter, and they got good responses and over time. So next week, it'll be another 5 people. And so it'll kind of rotate from there. Yeah, so it gives more exposure there. I should also mention that the premium profiles show up above the basic profiles in the directory. But I would encourage people, if you're kind of on the fence and you think $29 is too much, well, I do have a coupon code I'll mention in a second to make that easier. But even the basic option gives you a great profile that you can share. And this concept of one pagers I found interesting. And the people have these one pagers. I'm sure you've seen them carry where they send it and it's a PDF document and it looks pretty. But, sending around a PDF document in this day and age, it's a little bit clunky, if I can. It's something, a third of the people that view podcastguest.com are viewing it on their mobile phone. I'm sure if you look in Google Analytics, you see similar numbers across many websites. And you really need a mobile-friendly, easy profile that someone can see rather than opening up a PDF document. So for the $9 a month, you get that easy one-page profile that's mobile-friendly, and you're still in the directory. So if people are looking for people in your category, they're still going to find you. So I think that's a good way to enter if you're a little skittish. Most people, 90% so far, have done the premium option, which surprised me a little bit. But I think a lot of these people are subscribers to the newsletter and they know the value that it brings.
Yeah, I'm certain that's part of it. And I also feel like the premium just kind of puts you in that category of expert in your field, with the different bells and whistles that are allowed there. I mean, for example, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Andrew allowed me to have a listing in the directory so that I could see, how it works and what is possible. And, it's got quite a few different fields you can fill out and different things you can supply as information to promote yourself as a guest. And what I did is I just copied some sections out of one of my websites and pasted it, and it took the entire HTML. So it's got images, it's got headers, it looks really snazzy for this kind of a listing. So, this could be pretty powerful, I think, for anybody who's looking to be a guest on podcasts. What kind of success or stories are you hearing from it? I realize it's fairly new, but what are you hearing so far?
Well, this morning, I should say, we're recording this on a Monday, which is when I send out my newsletter. Within a couple hours of the newsletter going out, there were 15 to 20 submissions from podcasters to people listed in the directory, inviting them on the show. And these weren't just the people that were featured in today's newsletter. People clicked over and then they said, whoa, let me see who else is in this category, right? And they found other people as well. So far, it's really good. So far, I'm very pleased with the response and the uptake. And as the SEO starts kicking in, as more people are aware that there's a directory option now as well, I think we'll see a lot more there. And I think people put a different monetary value on appearing on a podcast, but to me, even getting an extra one every quarter is really nice, right? Especially without having to do much outreach. So I'm hopeful that people will get even more than that, but I think it's a good value for people, even if it's one every few months.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I feel like, even if your ROI, so to speak, of being a guest on a podcast is one or two listeners per appearance on a podcast, I mean, that's one or two people interested in your niche who didn't know about you before and are now potentially subscribers or listeners or even clients, depending on what your podcast is and your value proposition and all that. So I see it as a very good way. And not to forget that podcasts are evergreen. So as long as that podcaster keeps paying their media host fee, your episode is going to be available for download far into the future. So those are all powerful, powerful selling points.
Hey, we will get back to the episode right after this short break. I promise.
Do you have questions about podcasting? I just might have some answers for you. You can go to podcastfasttrack.com/question and leave your question or comment. Who knows? You might hear your melodious voice on the next episode.
I always keep my promises, so here we go.
Just kind of an anecdote there. I was talking to a friend the other day who has a colleague who was on national TV, one of the large stations, and hardly get any follow-up from it, any visits to her website, any traffic, any sales to her product. Yet she was on about 10 podcasts and just got a load of leads from them. Being a guest on podcasts is not only a great way to grow your own podcast, but if you have a business of any sort that has a product to sell or a service to sell, it's an extremely powerful way to get the word out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Andrew, give me some ideas of what a person's going to see when they come to podcastguest.com and how they should navigate the site for best user experience.
It's a good thing because now to some extent, if you just go to podcastguests.com, you're going to show up on a landing page where you can sign up for the free newsletter. And so once you do that, of course, I'll send you instructions if you want to create your listing. But at the top of that page, there are some links, including to the directory and then one that says get listed. And so click on directory there, you'll see the people that are already in the directory, and you'll see a bunch of categories. So you can click on any of those categories to view who's in those sections. And then let me click on your profile right now, Carrie, and we'll just walk through. So I'm scrolling down. I see Carrie's headshot. I'm looking at this here. And so you see social links. I'm seeing your picture and then social links. There's a quick synopsis of who you are and a button to invite you to be on the podcast. And if you click that button, you don't have to register. You just fill out information about your podcast and what your kind of make your pitch to that person on why you think they'd make a good guest. There are sections on here. And one of the sections that I really like that I put in here is something that one of the other members here who owns a PR company suggested to me, and that is a 10 questions you can ask section. So podcasters are busy. The easier you can make it for them to interview you, the more likely they are to interview you. So here's where you can put questions that will make the podcaster's job easier. They don't have to ask you those questions, but it kind of gets a flow going and gives them some ideas. So Josh Elledge, who is a big fan of podcast guests as well, suggested I put that in there. And that's one section that I think if you put some good thought into that, it'll make it more likely that people will book you on their show. And then to get listed, you click the button for get listed. That's also podcastguests.com/join. And you'll see the two options there. You'll also see a link to an example profile. And from there, you can just choose which package you want and you pay. And then setup was fairly easy. As Carrie mentioned, you were able to copy and paste some information out of your website. But even if you've never created kind of a pitch page or one pager for yourself, it's really easy to get started.
Yeah, I didn't find it difficult at all. So I think this is a great thing that you've got set up. And I mean, think about this as a podcaster. If you have a guest cancel or you have a situation where, you forgot, to record my podcast episode for next week and you need to scramble and find someone, you could come right to Podcast Guests, jump in the directory, find a person that would be great for your podcast, and then flip that coin around. You could be the one someone else is reaching out to in that very same scenario. So I think that there's all kinds of value to this.
I noticed one of the people that submitted a few invitations said, "Hey, I've got an opening on December 1st that I'm looking for a guest still for this time. Can you do it in this specific time frame?" So I think it is a great option to find guests at the last minute too. Obviously, that person has to get the invitation and respond in time and be available. But I think that was one of the drawbacks to how I set up podcastguest.com, which is as a podcaster, you'd submit your podcast, but it might be months before it shows up. So it was a good way to get a bunch of leads in for people who want to be on your podcast to schedule out for the next 3 to 6 months. But it was not a good way to find last minute guests. So hopefully this will help facilitate that as well.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. Now, you mentioned that people are searchable by category. I would assume, I'm looking at the site now. So there's like business, coaching, entrepreneurship. In the different plans, how many categories can a person choose?
So it's one category in a basic plan, and it's 2 categories in the premium plan. So I'll list off a few of the categories here, and you'll see how there can be some natural overlap. There's business, leadership, entrepreneurship. Those 3 alone, you might fit into a couple of those categories. That was a reason for allowing people to be in more than one category. For example, Carrie, you're in entrepreneurship and lifestyle and family, which, given your background, are 2 great selections. So yes, it's 1 for the basic and 2 for the premium.
Yeah, that makes sense. So people, think about this. There are all kinds of great benefits to this. I want to encourage you to go over to podcastguest.com. Check out the newsletter if you're not on the newsletter. I get this thing every week, and you can bet it's one of those things I scroll through real quickly, see if there's any podcasts that I should submit to be a guest, and see if there's any experts there that would be of interest to me. And Andrew, just to clarify, for someone to use the directory, there's no charge, correct?
That's correct. If you're looking for guests, it's absolutely free. You can scroll through. You don't even have to register. And when you invite people, you don't have to create an account or anything like that. You will, if you're not subscribed to the weekly newsletter, you will get added when you invite someone, but you don't need to create an account if you're looking for people. So super simple. And even the weekly email is simple. There's no account involved, as you know, Carrie, from using it. If you see a podcast that you're a fit for, you literally click a button, it brings you to a form, you fill out your information, click send, and it gets collated and sent to the podcaster. So I've tried to remove as much friction as possible. And one of the reasons I didn't start with a directory is I felt like there needed to be something kind of a push model to it. There are lots of directories on the web, and yes, they're great when you're looking for something, but I needed to build up that email list of people excited to open up this weekly email and find opportunities. And so now with over 3,000 people on that list, it keeps everything fluid, if you will. It keeps people coming back, coming to the directory each week, especially when they see a new featured expert that they think's interesting or a podcast that they feel like they make a great guest for as well.
Yeah, and let me give you a little user hack that I've been using on the newsletter. There are seasons in your life as an entrepreneur or a business person where you have a particular product or a particular launch that you're going to be focusing on at a specific point in time. And so I have used the little app Pocket, where you can save things you find on the internet, to save the application form for different podcasts that I think I might fit on, so that when I fit that season where I'm going to be launching something or doing a particular push, I can reach out to all these people at the same time and hopefully get on a whole lot of shows at once in order to do that particular thing.
And when you're on a newsletter, you can click a link that says open this up in your browser. And if you do that, you'll get a link to all the past issues as well. And so you can scroll back through there and find ones. And I encourage the podcasts that are featured to set up alerts on the system I have, so that most of the responses come in the first week on people that want to be on the show, but some people can come to them later and fill out the form. So I encourage them to set up the alerting system, which informs them whenever the form is filled out. So if you scroll back through some of those past episodes, you might find some great opportunities, even if you just sign up for the list this week.
Yeah, that is a great tip. And it could explain why some of the forms I have filled out, after the fact, I never got a response from. Maybe they didn't have the alert set up,
right,
or something of that issue. Yeah,
right.
That makes sense. Okay, well, Andrew, you mentioned earlier that you have a coupon code for podcastification listeners. I know that some people are going to really want to take advantage of that. So how can we find that?
Sure. The coupon code is P25. That's a lowercase p and then 2 and 5. And that'll get you 25% off your monthly subscription rate. So that's 25% off the $9 or the $29. And that goes on in perpetuity. That's not just the first month. So already there, you can save even more money as you use the service over time.
Wow, you have just raised the intellectual level of our show by using the word perpetuity. That's amazing. Yeah, so it's ongoing. Let's say it that way. I so appreciate you offering a discount to our listeners, Andrew. And I appreciate you as a client, and I appreciate what you're doing out there to make it easier for podcasters and expert guests to get connected. Man, this is a really helpful service, and I like the way you're going about it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Gary.
If you want to check out Podcast Guests, it's at podcastguest.com. You can use the code P, lowercase p, 25, and get 25% off your monthly subscription in perpetuity for the rest of your life. So go do that. Andrew, thanks for reaching out and telling me about this and for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always a pleasure, Gary.
This show is brought to you by Podcast Fast Track, where my team provides professional podcasting services without the time suck. Full production, editing, and show notes, all in one monthly subscription package. You can find out more at podcastfasttrack.com. Now go out and make it a podcastificating day. Audio editing and show notes by podcastfasttrack.com. Get 15% off your first month by mentioning this show.